everyone. I am your host, Jessica Koch, and this is yet, you better believe it, another Profound Professionals interview. We have been doing this series for the last 5 years now, and we have the joy and the excitement of meeting and learning from industry experts from all over our brilliant, beautiful globe. And today is no different. Today I have the beautiful, the amazing Tessa. Who doesn't love that name? Tessa. It's just fun to say. Tessa Alburn. And she is a certified life coach, soulful mentor for women, and she helps people break free from feeling trapped or attacked by teaching feminine energy and leadership. So the feminine energy leadership. I love that. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It sounds poetic and songful almost. Welcome, Tessa.
Ah, yes, it is. Thank you, Jessica. I'm pleased to be here.
So how did you just decide to take this life coach journey? What pivoted in your process to say, I'm gonna do that life coach thing?
It took a while. I was mostly on a journey of healing. I needed to do my own personal healing for
Mhm.
many reasons. And then I was in that world of helping, I've always felt like a helper type person. And learning about compassion and then how to access different brain waves for healing and this, that, and the other. And I wound up working for a nonprofit company in the transformation industry, and I suddenly something lit up. Like I couldn't even understand before what coach even meant. Like my friends would tell me about it, I'd be like, that's just weird, it feels like brainwashing or something. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until I got really involved in that company and the beauty of it, and really helping people access their heart energy and step into living a more fully aligned with their soul life and shifting their energy, and just so much change was possible. And then one day I was like, I have to have my own business. And so as a healer, I struggled with that, trying to,
Mhm.
back then, like the
Mhm.
internet was barely a thought in our minds. um, Trying to somehow make money out of helping people, with healing. But I realized I needed to integrate coaching with the healing.
Mhm.
And that's where it really became profound. I was able to reach more people. It was more
Mhm.
accessible. People didn't like freak out with healing. They were like, oh, okay, she's a coach. That makes more sense. And so
Yeah.
one thing led to the other. And that's how I got into it.
That's lovely because, I'm one of those, hopefully not too rare of a birds that is a very, I'm married a very scientific based human, my handsome husband.
Mm.
And so I have a lot of appreciation for the power and the knowledge and the value of science. But I'm also a very spiritual person, and I was raised in the more traditional, hardcore religious. But in my journey and growth and my relationship with God, I have become more spiritual and much more open to lots of the, I guess, things people would call woo woo or healing or, those other things. But I feel like there's such a beauty on both. And if you can open yourself up to allow your mind to absorb the possibilities of how both are uniquely and profoundly true and real in their, and have effect on your lives in their own unique ways. At least they do for me. Like that's been what I've experienced. So I love that you do that.
Well, thank you. And I'll stack onto what you were just saying. I think there's something in the way that we define things. So
Hmm.
if we're like, ooh, spiritual means this and that and the other, then it can be
Hmm.
very limiting. But if we
Hmm.
look at it like, spiritual is about energy and
Yes.
opening up to
Hmm.
resources that we didn't know we had, that, in other ways, because we weren't taught them.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, if
True.
we can just open up to that energy and we can work with that, then we can start to receive knowledge, wisdom, guidance,
Hmm.
and also clarify the information from
Hmm.
all the plethora of information that we're receiving, we can use that spiritual energy to get really clear, get really focused, and to make better decisions in our lives.
And it's helped me in my personal life and in my business. I'm a believer that I can bring a puzzle of any type into my meditation space and, prayer, meditation, whatever you'd like to call it, or whatever it's comfortable for you. And I genuinely believe I have access to answers past, present, and future. So I really believe I'm dialed in to the ultimate Google. Like I can solve and answer any
Exactly.
question if I just bring it, meditate, and wait and listen. I'm truly believe if we can, conceive and believe and think it can come to be, and we have the ability. I mean, if you think about the inventors and the brilliant scientists who were in some cases by society snuffed out or pushed away, of what they were able to do in advancements that are now coming to light so many hundreds of years, in some cases later, it's mind-boggling. But I believe it's because we're connected in this thread that isn't necessarily a flat line, right? It's not necessarily
Oh, it's definitely
right.
not. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
so I
holistic,
think
right?
that's
It's got it's
exciting,
holographic.
dimensional. Yes, and
Yes,
it's multi
dimensional.
and this whole multi-dimensional. Well, I'm married to a sci-fi nut, and I'm just going to tell you, I believe that. So whatever you believe, I bless you, and I appreciate and I value whatever it is you believe out there. But I'm just sharing a little bit of my insight and my thought. And I don't usually talk this much in a show, Tessa, so I'm sorry about that. I want this to be all about you, but I'm just so excited about your topic. So now share with us the client journey and the client experience. So if someone's going to work with you, what would that look like?
Well, I've been doing a lot of private coaching over the years, and I'm now taking things to groups.
Mm,
I've got a membership
mm,
program that's growing, and I found that that was important because a lot of
mhm,
my clients want that connection with others. That's one of the
mhm,
things they might be missing. They
mhm,
tend to be introverts, and it's great working with them one on one. They can make a lot of progress, but to really integrate changes into their lives, having that group interaction has also been super valuable. Most of the women who come to me, and a few men, but mostly women who
mhm,
come to me, are feeling like either under attack at work, or they're just
mhm,
trapped by work. They don't understand why they're not getting the recognition, the
mhm,
acknowledgement that they crave, number one. And
mhm,
they're so smart. They're very, very creative, and they bring these out of box ideas in to wherever they're working, but they don't always feel like they're understood. And
mhm,
so they can shut down. They start to, feel either like blamed, like they're weird, they don't belong there. So they
mhm,
have this push pull with their careers. They might work somewhere for 2 years and leave it and just say, forget it, throw their hands up in the air. And then they wind up coming back to a similar situation over and over. And so there's that cycle. And I help them break that cycle, because
mhm,
what they don't know, what they weren't taught is, first of all, they've got to start embodying some self-love and some compassion, but they
mhm,
really need some hard ass skills, like
mhm,
how to communicate your ideas,
mhm,
how to speak up for yourself in a way where you're not perceived as whiny or weepy,
mhm,
right? And and they, because they've got so much emotion, and they're trying to get these ideas across, and they don't know how to funnel them in a way that can be heard and received. So I help them learn to manage the emotional component so that they can then make choices about how they're going to present, how they're going to give their ideas, let's say, to their superiors, how they're going to make a proposal. And also, very importantly, is how to set boundaries, because
mhm,
boundaries, people walking on them, or
mhm.
pushing them into something, that's a big problem for a lot of them. So really help them get a handle on those things.
I love that. That's beautiful. Can you give us one short and a small tip that people could do today that would help improve their life?
Yes, I'm just tuning into your audience right now, so let me see which one I want to share. When you notice that you are activated,
Mm,
and by that I mean like you're you're feeling like you're attacked or you're going to have to defend yourself, in
mhm,
that moment, I want you to breathe. And I want you to tell yourself that the person you're with is not an assailant. They are not your mom or dad. They're a person with flaws. They're human.
mm,
Take another breath and then choose to respond.
mm,
So that's my quick tip, right? Breathing and also really getting that this person is not someone from your past. So if you have to
mhm,
say to yourself, oh, that's not my mom.
mm.
Shit, I was feeling like it was my mom. Oh, yeah, they're not my mom.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Now I'm going to respond. How do I want to respond? Not from a place of defense,
yeah.
but from a place of presence.
Hmm. Well,
Yes.
and I often try to remind myself too, if someone is attacking me, sometimes and most often it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with something that has upset them or some space where they're broken or some space where they're often upset with themselves and need to reflect it out onto someone else. So it's a fascinating thing when people attack you. Well, if you pause to think, where is this really coming from and how much do I really have to do with it? You know, and
Yes,
that can be really
exactly.
interesting too. So I love that. So before we move on and through to some of our other segments in the show, can you share anything else with yourself personally, Tessa, or with your about your business that you want the audience to know? And then we'll move right along through some of our other pieces.
Well, what I'd like everybody to know is they can reach me by going and getting a free gift.
Hmm.
And one of the free gifts, I sometimes offer two, sometimes one. So depending on when you hear this or you go there, go to tessafreegift.com
Hmm.
and you will receive something to help connect to your soul or say yes to yourself by saying no to what is not you or not in your no longer an obligation. So something along those lines, right? So learning to set boundaries and connecting to your soul.
And if you're watching this, no matter where you're watching it, there'll be a description or comments. We will have a link to a custom article that will contain lots of ways to reach Tessa and her gifts and all the things she shares with us. We will make sure, if we have them from her, we'll share them with you. So check those spaces for those links so that we can get you all the details about Tessa. Now, one of the reasons we started this show years and years ago, 5 years now, is because we wanted to uplift industry experts, bring knowledge and brilliant, beautiful people to the world and share them with you. So please be kind and loving and share them with others. So click the share button. But we also wanted to take this moment while we're here and we're in this energy of being on a podcast to spread awareness about causes that were near and dear to our guests' hearts. So, what's a cause that you love, Tessa?
One of the causes that I love, like it just can't live without it, is the cause of supporting our environment,
Yes.
helping the earth,
Hmm.
restoring so much of what has changed and been driven away by
Hmm.
just, our own desire to consume and rapidly move forward, but
Hmm.
really embracing this planet. There's so much beauty here. And also, there's something very, very profound in that relationship. So it's not like, it's not just a resource to use up, it actually gives back to us. So I implore anyone who, whether it's saving the dolphins or whatever it is for you, could be big cats in Africa or trees, planting trees,
Yes.
do something to nurture this earth and be a steward of it.
Yeah, and I'm a big don't be a litter bug. If you're going to throw something on the ground, let it be fresh mulch or fresh seeds, like make the planet beautiful. Don't throw, let's not make it our trash can. And
Well,
we need to reduce all of those landfills, and all of that just is such a devastating waste of, land. Land is limited. There's not more of it. We've got one little tiny globe. There's only so much space on it, so we need to make sure that space is beautiful, clean for the humans that live upon it, and not fill it up with lots and lots of trash. So yeah.
yes, and as you were speaking about the litter, I remember years ago, somebody had the thought or spoke to this, which is when we do something like that, when we just toss
Oh.
something or we drop it and don't bother. We know
Mhm.
that we dropped it, but we
Mhm.
don't bother to bend down and get it. It really speaks about us and our own lack of dignity to our sacred space in this
Yeah,
lifetime.
it's true. I love that. So thank you for sharing that cause. Now, to another fun segment of our show. Everyone knows Jesse is a bookworm. I am building the ultimate book list with all my guests. We want to feature the books that matter to you. If they've inspired your life, if these books have made you blow the doors off of your business so that you have so much profit you don't know what to do with it all. We want the books in your life that grow your business, that inspire your life. What is a book that is amazing and wonderful and has inspired you, Tessa?
One of the books that has inspired my journey to become who I am and to take a stand for the sacredness in all our lives and definitely in our professions is back from the Carlos Castaneda books, The Teachings of Don Juan.
Mm.
I read those when I was quite young. I think I started when I was a teenager, read all through my college years, and then just started consuming more and more books on metaphysics and sort of this other energy that was
Mm.
available. Because that's really what it was about. It was like opening my mind to
Mm.
things that I couldn't study in a book at school and get an A
Right.
on a paper for, right? So it helped open me up, and that became foundational for the success that I've had, for becoming a prosperous and abundant woman when the women of my family never had a chance at that, right? So it
Yeah.
really helped me to break a number of familial patterns,
Mhm.
ancestral energies, all that stuff that, I was told you can only be a school teacher, stupid things like that.
Mhm.
That people, well, it wasn't stupid to the people who told me because they really believed
Yeah,
that was all there was. But so nurturing that part of myself that could start to see other things even when it wasn't in black and white.
that's beautiful. I love that. Are there any other books we should touch base on before we move on?
you know when I talk about spiritual books, sometimes people can if somebody's like not open to that, what I
Mhm.
would say is check out some mythology.
Mm.
This mythology, we can access that sometimes a little more readily, sort of like a movie,
Mhm.
right? And tuning in to those heroes and the journeys of the heroes, the
Mhm.
challenges they go through, and the mystical, and how all that stuff comes together. There's a lot of deep shared
Mhm.
ideas in mythology. So
Mhm.
have some fun reading some bullfinches.
I love that. And you know what? I also would say to you, when you build your talks and you think about your presentations and your speeches, really looking back to some of that have the amazing key components of the most powerful storytelling around, because think about how the longevity these stories have
Mm.
existed, and it's because they have that formula down so pat, right? I don't know if you any of you have ever seen it. I was as a child, my parents played, and I think it was a pretty old movie then, but Clash of the Titans and Release the Kraken, this
Yes,
story that had all of those components of the best stories told. And we can infuse those into our talks and into our business presentations, those concepts and those key components of a really well told story. Wouldn't you think, Tessa?
absolutely, because those really well told stories are addressing
Mm-hmm.
the psyche, right? The
Mm-hmm.
psychology. So we don't have to be a psychologist to tell a good story, but we
Mm-mm.
do need to understand human nature and how the mind works and how the emotions work and how to paint pictures for people. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of value in that.
Yeah, paying attention to the longest lasting stories. What is in the recipe of that storytelling that made it so good and made it last so long and be passed on through so many generations and so many formats. So I love that. So again, everyone watching, we are hugging you virtually for watching, and we are really, really sending you lots of love, light, and good energy for sharing this with others. Now, if you're watching and you're an industry expert and you can help improve someone's life and make their day and their world better, or you can help them grow their business so that they can have the abundance they need, so that they can show up in their community and their legacy that they leave their family and their community beyond in a powerful way, help them grow that business, then you should be on our show. We would love to feature you. Reach out to us and my virtual assistant team. And by the way, I have a virtual assistant membership program. So if you need a virtual assistant, reach out to us and we will set you up. But reach out to us and we will get all the details you need in order to be on the show. Now, you can be someone's hero and my hero too. And I bet you're networking on a bunch of things. And I bet you know a lot of other industry experts and speakers who would love to be on the show. Email, introduce us, because wow, wouldn't they be excited to be featured? And we would love to learn about them and share them with the world. So if you are those people, please do those things and let us feature you and them. Now, before we say goodbye, I always ask our guests to share with us one last piece of information or inspiration so that we can head out on our way on a high note. So, what's your high note for us, Tessa?
I would say be courageous.
Mm,
There is no sadder life than someone who gets to whatever the either a, a life passage or the end of their life, and they're like,
mm,
oh, I didn't do it, why didn't I do it, and really
mm.
just selling yourself short. So somehow find the courage to say yes to yourself, say yes to your soul.
Ah, I love that. All right, everyone. This has been a beautiful episode with Tessa, and I feel full and blessed that I have gotten to learn from her and hear her story and some of her journey and all of her amazing tips and the resources she shared. Now, as always, I am your host, Jessica Koch. This has been Profound Professionals. Please be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Bye, everybody.